If you are the CEO, the business owner, the entrepreneur that has scaled your business beyond a one-man show, you've built teams and systems for all the important areas of your business, first, congratulations. And also, you're not in the business you think you are. You're actually in the business of trust. And real quick, if we haven't met, welcome to beabossdad.com. My name is Joel Haasenritter, and I help high-achieving dads scale their business without failing their family. And in this video, I'm going to show you how customer trust is actually built by the leader's standards, even if you never talk to customers, and how to install a few simple rhythms so your business stops escalating everything to you at night and your family stops getting your leftovers. Because if trust is fragile, you become the safety net. And if you're the safety net, you don't really get to clock out. So if you've ever had that moment where you're home, but your brain is still at work, you're in the right place. Let's get started. I know what you might be thinking. Joel, I'm not the one answering tickets. I'm not the one on the phones. I don't even talk to customers most days. Totally, I get it. And still, customer trust is being built or broken by what you decide, by what you fund, and by what you quietly tolerate. Because trust isn't your mission statement. Trust is what a customer feels when your company does what it said it would do. And here's the sneaky part. Most of the promises that customers judge you on were never said out loud. They're implied. Like, when I pay you, from the customer's perspective, you'll take care of me. Like, if something goes sideways, you'll own it and fix it. Or if I reach out, I won't get bounced around like a pinball. Now let's bring this into the Boss Dad life, because that's the whole point of this channel. This isn't about you becoming a quote-unquote more customer-centric business owner so you can put it on a LinkedIn post. This is about building a business that doesn't require you to be the emergency contact every night for the rest of your life. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Because when trust is fragile, guess what happens? Everything escalates to you. And when everything escalates to you, your business grows by eating your evenings, and your family gets what's left. So just imagine that we're sitting across from each other. It's 9 p.m., the kids are finally down, and you've got that feeling like you should be doing one more thing. That's the whole vibe for this video. We're going to talk like real people, and we're going to walk through 6 very specific things. Number 1, how your leadership decisions shape customer experience. Number 2, how to set a few non-negotiable service standards. Number 3, how to empower the front line without losing control. Number 4, how to fix handoffs that create frustration. Number 5, how to build feedback loops you can actually use. And number 6, how trust becomes a competitive advantage that buys your time back. And at the end, stick with me, because I'm going to give you a simple trust operating system that you can run without turning your calendar into chaos. So let's start with the reality that a lot of leaders and owners don't like hearing. It's not very popular, but customers don't experience your org chart. They don't care who reports to who. They experience your business as one thing, one experience, one feeling. So even if you never talk to customers, your leadership is shaping what I call the invisible company. The invisible company is what your team defaults to when nobody's watching. It's how decisions get made when a customer is frustrated and your employee has to choose between either doing what's right for the customer or doing what's convenient for the company. And that invisible company is shaped by your standards. Not your posters, not your values page, your standards. So here's a question. If I dropped a customer into your business for 1 week, where would they feel cared for, and where would they feel like a number? If you don't know the answer to that right away, it means that you're just guessing. And businesses that guess about trust usually end up with the owner doing escalations at 8:30 p.m. The encouraging part is that if trust is the output of systems, then trust can be engineered, not in a robotic way, but in a human way. Let me show you how this creeps in. You make what feels like a leadership decision, pricing or staffing or policies. tools, right? And somewhere downstream, the customer experiences that as slower response times, as confusing handoffs, as inconsistent answers. Why do I have to repeat myself again? Questions going through their brain, right? Do they even know what's going on over there? I'm sure you've probably had that experience as the customer on the other side of the line. A lot of good leaders fall into this trap. It's very common. They think that customer trust is a customer service problem. But honestly, customer trust is usually a leadership capacity problem. If your team doesn't have the tools, the time, the authority, and the clarity to deliver well, then the customer experience is going to be mediocre at best. And you might have a caring team. I'm sure that you do. It's not because they don't care. It's not because you don't care, but it's because that's how the system was designed. Most of us didn't set out to create a trust problem, right? I know you didn't either. We set out to survive. We set out to hit payroll, to carry the provider pressure, to try to do the right thing by the business and for the family. And the quickest way to survive is sometimes to tolerate a little chaos until it becomes normal. So here's the reframe that I want you to hold on to. Every internal shortcut becomes an external tax on trust. If you cut corners on onboarding, the customer pays. If you cut corners on training, the customer pays. If you cut corners on handoffs, the customer pays. And then you pay too, in churn, in refunds, in stress, in late nights, right? So just getting practical for a minute, if you want trust to scale, you need non-negotiables. And I'm not talking about writing a 30-page manual, not a slogan on the wall that says, our team strives to fill in the blank. I'm talking about real standards, 3 to 5, the standards that your team can actually remember when they are under pressure. Because when standards are unclear, people default to personality. One person is warm and generous. Another person is quick and efficient. Another person avoids conflict. Another over-promises because they don't want the customer to be mad. And now your customer experience feels inconsistent at best. So here's a few examples that you can steal and tweak. Number 1, we respond within X business hours. Or we never make the customer repeat themselves. I'm sure you've been on the other side of that as well. Or what about if we make a mistake, we own it and we fix it? Or we do what we said we would do by when we said we would do it. Or how about if we can't solve it, we escalate internally, we don't throw it back onto the customer. So let me say this, a non-negotiable is not a poster. A non-negotiable is a promise you're willing to fund, you as the business owner. Because if you set a response time standard, but you don't staff for it, you didn't create a standard, you created a lie. And lies are trust killers. So let's talk about empowerment, because this is where a lot of boss dads feel that internal tension. You want to empower your team, right? But you also don't want chaos. And the fear underneath that is usually something like, what if they make the wrong call? What if they give away too much? What if they handle it badly and it becomes my mess anyway? So what happens is you become the decision bottleneck. And at first, you might tell yourself it's temporary, but then it becomes the way that the company works. So the key is empowerment is not, quote unquote, do whatever you want. Empowerment is clear ownership plus clear guardrails. So think of a simple ladder. Level 1, the frontline can solve it instantly. You've empowered them to do that. Number 2, the frontline can solve it with a manager's approval. And number 3, it becomes a true escalation beyond either of those. Most businesses either micromanage everything or they throw people into the deep end and just hope. Both feel bad to customers. Both create distrust, because nothing kills trust like a customer hearing, I don't have the authority for that, or that's not what my screen says I'm allowed to do, or our systems weren't designed that way, so I'm sorry I can't help you. But let me connect this to home for a second. If you never trust anyone at work, your nervous system learns to stay on high alert. And then you walk in the door at home, still gripping the steering wheel, and your family can feel it. So empowerment at work is not just a business move. It's a peace move. It's a presence move. And I would say it's a boss dad move. So let's talk about the handoffs, because handoffs are where trust goes to die. A handoff is any moment where the customer gets transferred from sales to onboarding, from onboarding to delivery, from delivery to support, from one person to another. And when the handoffs are sloppy, the customer gets that familiar feeling like I'm doing work I shouldn't have to do, or I have to repeat myself again. Or do you all even talk to each other? Think of that old telephone game, right? And the customer is being passed along that telephone line. And by the time it actually gets to doing something and making progress for the customer, it's a completely different story. So the boss dad owner, the business owner, the entrepreneur level question is this: where are customers getting dropped in the relay race? So I'm going to give you a clean handoff framework that you can use in business and also in delegation. And I call it the 5 C's of a clean handoff. And it's very simple. Context, why this matters. Clarity, what success looks like. Constraints, which is the rules and the boundaries. Check-in, which is when you'll review progress. And then confirmation that the other person agrees that they have it. And that's it. Because ambiguity is the birthplace of broken promises. And broken promises are the birthplace of broken trust. So here's your move this week. Just pick one handoff that happens all the time, and then write a very simple standard for it on one page. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to be clear. So what about feedback? Because a lot of companies collect feedback the way a lot of guys buy a gym membership. It feels productive, but nothing changes. And customers can feel when you ask for input, and then they get the silent treatment. So if you want trust, you need a feedback loop that actually a simple model is just 2 very succinct loops. Loop number 1 is the fast loop. It's when the frontline hears something, fixes something, and learns something. And number 2 is the slow loop. It's where patterns get turned into system improvements. Customer experience leaders talk about this as an inner loop and an outer loop. So here's the boss dad move. And this will change everything about your company, your customers, and your team. Make feedback visible. And I don't mean in a spreadsheet somewhere that no one thinks to open and they can't find where the file was anyway, but in a weekly rhythm. You could call it a 15-minute trust huddle if you wanted to. And each week, just ask, what are customers praising right now? Ask what is frustrating them right now. What is one promise that we broke? What's one promise that we kept really well? What's a friction point that we can remove this week? The discipline that makes this work is that you pick one to fix. Not all of them, just one, because trust is built by small, consistent improvements. So zoom out with me for a minute. When trust is strong, it becomes your moat around the castle of your business. Not because you say you're premium in your slogan. It actually cracked me up. One of the auto manufacturers says that in their slogan. We are, you can probably guess. And it's like, if you have to say it, then maybe you're not showing it, because people experience reliability. They don't just read about it. And when trust is high, customers are more patient, they're more forgiving, they refer more, they buy again, and they stop shopping you on price. That's real business upside here, and firms like McKinsey have pointed out that improving customer experience can drive revenue gains and cost reduction over time. It's a very simple formula. But let me translate that into boss dad language. When trust is high, you get your life back, because your business stops needing you to save the day, and you stop dragging that anxious, edgy energy back into the house. So the trust flywheel, if you can picture a flywheel, is that you have clear standards, empowered ownership, clean handoffs, feedback loops, Fewer fires, more margin, more presence at home, better leadership at work. And then it just keeps spinning. So let me give you something that you can do this week. Here's the idea. Trust usually isn't lost in one big dramatic moment. It's lost in 100 little disappointments. So do this. Write down your top 10 promises that your company, your business, your teams promise to the customer. And I'm not talking about marketing promises. I'm talking about delivery promises. These are explicit and implied. They're things like we start on time. We reply within a day. You won't get bounced around. We respect your time. We keep you informed. And then for each one of those, just ask, where does this break down? What step creates friction along that customer journey process? Who owns it? In our team, who owns that? Who's responsible for it? And what would make it almost impossible to fail? And just so we're clear, this isn't a blame exercise. This isn't an exercise about who did something wrong and how can we help them be accountable to that. This is a systems exercise. Because when systems are weak, the business always needs a hero. And if you're the hero, your family pays the price. So let me wrap all of this up into a very simple operating system. There's 5 moves, not 100, just 5. You're going to pick 3 to 5 non-negotiables that you as the business owner, you as the entrepreneur are willing to fund. For every customer critical moment, one person owns it. Move number 1, choose the standard. Pick 3 to 5 non-negotiables that you as the business owner are willing to fund. Move number 2, name the owner. For every customer critical moment, one person has ownership of that. Move number 3, build the handoff. Use context, clarity, constraints, check-in, and confirmation as your guiding structure there. Move number 4, create the loop. Run a weekly trust huddle and choose one fix to focus on that following week. And number 5, close the loop publicly. When you change something, tell the team what changed and why. Because when people see leadership take feedback seriously, trust goes up inside the company and outside the company. Here's the big idea. Customer trust and team trust are connected. You can't build external trust with internal confusion. And if you're the boss dad, you don't want a business that needs you at all hours. You want an orchestrated life. You want standards. You want a team that can own outcomes. You want customers who feel taken care of. And you want your kids to get you, not your leftovers. So here's my question for you. What's the biggest trust breaker in your business right now? Is it response time? Is it handoffs? Is it inconsistent delivery? Is it unclear ownership? Pick one. And this week, do the promise kept audit in that one area. Again, not for perfection. It doesn't have to be perfect, but your goal is to be consistent, because consistency is what builds trust, and trust is what buys you freedom. If you want help installing rhythms without adding more to your plate, check the links in the description. I run a 5-day B.O.S.S Dad challenge where we run through the entire B.O.S.S Dad framework, which is balanced, owner, strategic shepherd. It's a real path to scale your business without failing your family. You can go to beabossdad.com or again, check the link in the description below. And that, my fellow boss dads, is how you build customer trust without chaining yourself to the business. You set the standard. You empower ownership. You clean up the handoffs. You close the feedback loop. And little by little, the fires die down. Trust goes up. And you get to walk into your home with your mind clear and your heart present. My name is Joel Haasenritter. Win at business, win at life, be a boss dad.